This video aims to explain to you how to find percentages of amounts. There are three main percentages you might start with because they are the easiest ones to work out. 10%, quite straightforward one to work out and used to get the bulk of percentage of amount work done. 5% and 1%. The reason these three are important also is because using them will help to build up any percentage. So 37% could be built up like this: 3 10%, 1 5%, and 2 1%. So that's why it's mainly useful to find those three, or at least know how to, which I'm going to go through next. So finding 10% is done by dividing by 10. To find 5%, you're best off halving your 10%. So once you've found that, just halve it. And then 1%, I find that dividing 10% by 10 again is usually a pretty good method of getting there. So that's how you'd find those three. Don't try and do things like finding 5% by dividing by 5. Just because it works for 10%, it doesn't really work for anything else. So try and stick with these methods and ideas for now. And with time and practice, you'll realize why other ideas don't really work. Like finding 1%, you can't divide by 1. It would just keep it the same. So I'm going to go through an example of how we would use these in a problem. So 23% of £140. You'd start off by finding 10%. That would be £14 just by dividing by 10. And then 1%, this time, by dividing by 10 again. You could get 5%, you could use that in some way. Some people might even say we'll start with 25%. There's more than one way of getting to there, but with practice you'll sort of pick a way that suits you. So once I've got these two, 20% I can find just by doubling to give me £28 from the 10%. And then to get the 3%, I would multiply 1% by 3, and that would give me my £4.20. So to get 23% overall, just add the two results that I've got, and that tells me that 23% is £32.20. Now that's all well and good in a problem where the numbers are nice, and if you don't have a calculator, this is the most likely way you're going to go about it. So what about if the numbers were not so nice and you did have a calculator to help you? How might you speed up this work? Well, I'm going to use the same problem again. So we know what the answer is going to be, and what we have to do is think of this idea of what's called a multiplier. And it all comes from this 23%, and we need to write it out in its decimal form. So changing it to its decimal, we get 0.23. And now with that number, if we multiply the 140, we will get to the answer directly, £32.20. We didn't have to do anything else. There was no particular problems getting there. It's just a case of remembering that that works. There are other ways this multiplier can be used if it's an increase or a decrease problem, and that's done in another video of mine. So hopefully that's helped to recap some of the basic ideas of percentage of an amount, and I hope you found it useful.